We live in a very hybrid era where people are able to have two opposites simultaneously. And so even though we are using technology and social media and the internet to speed things up and also to do things like we're doing now digitally, that's also maybe a counterbalance to slowing down. So I think that there's a balancing act to be had where we'll be able to have both at the same time.
I know from reading some of your writing and also your interviews that you're really interested in materials, that they're sort of a key aspect of trend forecasting. What do you think are the kind of key trends in materials that are happening in design right now?
Well, the majority of them are, of course, related to sustainability and how to move forward with the planet. So many people are focusing not just on recycling, but also on the idea of waste becoming an ingredient to be used into materials.
There's a parallel with food culture, I think. I know that you've spoken about that connection between design and food. I just recalled that the origin of slow food, I think, was that movement to ban McDonald's from Rome, right? Or like one particular plaza in Rome where they'd set up a McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, slow food is the perfect example of the first indicator, I would say, that we are ready to slow everything down. You know, the easiest idea to grasp with food is how concerned people are with what they put in their bodies. Understanding where something has been grown, understanding what the animal has been fed, has it been raised ethically, is there a sustainable aspect to the way that this food has been produced? And so people do understand that their decisions as consumers have a big impact on the long term for the planet. And I think that what we need to do is really just re-educate consumers to understand that in fashion and in interior products, that this whole concept of the origin of materials and the value of things is actually something which is the only way we can become more sustainable and avoid all of the calamities that are going to unfold in the next few decades.
So it seems like that's become a kind of a priority because of sustainability. That idea of reconnecting us back to materials. It seems that maybe there's a little bit of a kind of a paradox or conflict in the maybe traditional role of trend forecasting to drive consumerism, or at least draw attention to new products. And yet, I guess in sustainability terms, we know that hyperconsumerism is a really big problem, and there's a need to kind of slow down purchasing and so on. Does that kind of paradox or conflict kind of play out in your day-to-day role as a trend forecaster?
It's definitely a question which is coming up more and more, especially since obviously a lot of our clients are sometimes larger companies, especially in fashion. But we are shifting away from some of these clients. And of course, as you mentioned, in trends, there's also a big move towards a much slower and a more conscious consumption of products. So a lot of what we do, which is much more social cultural, is also about trying to show people that trends don't just change every 6 months, but that actually they're there for a very long time and that they have a lot of longevity. So most of the social ideas and also design ideas that we've been talking about, we've been following for more than 20 years, maybe even 30 years. So there's definitely a misconception, I guess, in the general public that trends are fickle and maybe that they change very often. Slow is more of a philosophy where we want to, I think, reduce, to be more focused, to make better choices in our purchases, to be more aware of our effect on the environment and other people. So it's, of course, and most importantly, a return to craftsmanship and not just necessarily making things by hands, but even 3D printing can be considered a craftsmanship, because it takes 300 hours to print something. It is a paradox, but it's something that can be simultaneously achieved.